Welcome to the Fierce as Fuck podcast. I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing sexual conversations from behind closed doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It's all fucking normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back, step into their confidence, and have the ability to express themselves authentically as fuck in this world. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have boatloads of audacity up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit? So I've lately been receiving a lot of questions regarding anal sex. And it floors me because I've done a podcast episode specifically on anal sex. I have an entire anal sex how-to training basically on smexed.com. So go to www.smexed.com. It's also linked in the show notes. And it was the Smex Ed class of the month for our VIP subscribers, which basically means you pay $1.99 a month. You get a training every single month about a sexual topic. We did one on anal sex that talks about like the tabooness of anal sex. It talks about how to prep for anal sex. It talks about the difference between anal play and penetrative sex. And yet I still field so many questions about this subject. And it made me realize how taboo this subject is. I always can tell the level of tabooness in a sexual topic by how many people ask the same question over and over again in my DMs. Because if one person is thinking it, it's one thing, right? But when you start getting dozens of people who are asking questions about prostate play, anal play, pegging, toys, it becomes very clear how everyone is scared to talk about this topic. And even when we go back to sex education in school, you did not learn anything about anal sex from high school education. Like, God forbid you were in the LGBTQAI community, you had to go and research yourself or find a mentor or someone who could tell you what to do in order to have safe anal sex, because no one fucking talks about it. And there's a reason no one talks about it. And that's because society makes anal sex mean something about people. Whether you're a man or a woman or a person, it makes it mean something in regards to who you are as a person if you enjoy anal sex. And on this episode, I kind of want to go through like the preconceived notions that come with women who like anal sex, the preconceived notions that come with men who like anal sex, what I refer to as anal play versus anal sex, because you'll hear me use those terms kind of intermittently. And then just in a way, maybe making people feel less awkward about this topic, because if we don't talk about stuff like this, guys, then everyone walks around in this world and feels fucking alone and feels weird and freakish, and they feel like what they desire is not right. And I just want, like, let's be vulnerable here. I just want everyone to be really fucking happy in this world. And I want us all to feel less alone, because we aren't alone in any of our desires, in any of our existence on this planet. We are all scared and we all don't know where to turn. And sometimes the internet can be a scary place. So I want to just have a frank discussion about anal sex and why it's considered so taboo. And when you even look at media and the portrayal of anal sex, you look at porn, right? Where we just jump right into anal sex during a mid-sex session, right? It's like from vagina to ass in 2.3 seconds, when it doesn't showcase the amount of fucking prep work that goes into actually having to have anal sex, which then causes people to have anal sex and it is done all wrong, meaning there's not enough lubrication or people are using spit as lubrication. So fucking dumb. Then they sit there and they have mistakes or accidents because they didn't do any of the prep work and something gross happens, and then all of a sudden everyone's fucking embarrassed and no one wants to do it again. Or it's some person shoving themselves inside of you without any communication, without any intimacy, which leads to everyone feeling like anal sex is this really bad thing. And I, even growing up, had my own preconceived notions about anal sex because I watched Zach and Mary make a porno. And if you guys seen that movie and you've seen the part where the girl is constipated and she has anal sex, and if you haven't seen it, go like literally Google the scene. It will scar you from ever wanting to have anal sex because the guy pulls out and she shits everywhere. I mean, fucking everywhere. And so you see that growing up and you think, oh my God, I never want that to happen. That's the most embarrassing thing that can happen. And so all of these preconceived notions come to the table when it comes to anal sex. And we're talking about your own notions from watching it on TV, also societal notions of what it means about you and your gender if you do like it. And then on top of that, we have generational shit that like generations before us they all participated in anal sex, just no one spoke about it because it was considered so taboo. Or you have people who say ignorant shit like, oh, well, it's only an out vessel, or it's an exit sign only, or any of that shit, which makes those who actually enjoy it and like it feel like shit. And so let's just kind of have some discussions of what society makes anal sex mean about women. And this is like where it goes into the promiscuity and how women are whores. A lot of times when women are perceived in media to participate in like anal sex, it's either done for comedic relief and something goes wrong, like Zach and Mary make a porno, or it is the most promiscuous girl who wants to have anal sex, right? So we make anal sex mean about women is that you are promiscuous, you are whorish, you are in it for comedic effect, you are in it because your partner wants it and you don't actually want to participate in it, but it's what your partner wants. It makes women feel like they are dirty if they participate in anal sex. Even growing up in conversations, not even growing up, conversations as adults of like looking around a room of people and being like, do you participate in anal? Have you had anal sex? And everyone just kind of like looks around. Nobody really wants to own that they do. And no one really wants to talk about it because women are considered whorish and dirty if you participate in anal sex. It means you are promiscuous. It means you are loose. It means all of these things when it shouldn't. It just means that you enjoy pleasure a different way than other people. And there are even women who to this day, I'll talk about anal sex openly on my platforms, openly on my stories, and they'll DM me questions rather than leaving comments on my stories. Why? Because they don't want people to know. And I don't blame them because then they'll post something, right, about anal sex. The women who do, and they say something like, I love it, there's always a fucking man right behind it, leaving some ignorant comment about what, like either how big of a whore she is, how disgusting she is because she likes it, or how they want to fuck her, or that they'll participate in anal play with her. Makes her seem cheap, makes her seem sullied in a way. And so women don't talk about it because it's not what's quote unquote acceptable for them, right? Because remember, women aren't meant to feel pleasure. We're meant to procreate, and that's what society pushes on us. And anal sex is not a way to procreate. So why should we be participating in it, and why should we be enjoying it and or feeling it when it doesn't lead to an ultimate purpose, which purpose is procreation in society's head? It's pleasure. Just like there are tribes out there and there are cultures out there that will literally genitally mutilate a woman and cut off her clit because it is a pleasure source and her whole life is not meant for pleasure, it's meant for procreation. And so when women think about anal sex too, this is the shit that we think about in our own head, where if we hear about a girl who does anal, we instantly think, oh my God, she must be a whore. And especially the way men glorify anal sex, which y'all do. Y'all glorify the shit out of anal sex. I'm going to try not to say shit and anal sex in the same sentence again, but you guys glorify it because it is so taboo, right? And so many men want to experiment with it, and they want a woman who does experiment with it. And then the second that a girl or a woman allows herself to experiment in anal sex, that person, and this does not apply to everybody, but that person goes and glorifies it to all of their friends. And then all of a sudden that one girl becomes a whore to every other girl because she's the one who's exploring anal sex, but the guy's out there glorifying it and bragging about it. And it's not fair. And that's a whole other layer of like how society pins women against each other as competition and shit. And I get that. And I'll address that in a different episode for a different time. But it makes it seem like women are whores who participate in anal. Now, when we flip on the reverse side of the coin, or the other end of the spectrum, anal sex in men is considered highly taboo too, because typically in society, anal sex is only for a man-on-man relationship. And even then, they are looked at as quote unquote disgusting. It's very considered effeminate to get penetrated, which is bullshit all in its own. But only women can be penetrated. Another man cannot be penetrated. It makes men scared to participate in anal play and prostate play and pegging and penetration, because society makes it mean something about their sexuality. Oh, well, if you like a finger up the butt during oral, you're gay. Or you like men. If you like to be penetrated during sex, you're a man. You are not a man. You are a woman. You like men. It makes it mean something about your sexuality, and it makes it mean you're not as manly as the rest of the men who don't do that, which is utter bullshit. And it's not fair, because as a man, you can experience so much joy and pleasure through anal penetration, more than women actually can. There was a study once that I read that said about 98% of men can actually ejaculate and have an orgasm through anal penetration and anal sex because of the prostate. Women don't. It's less likely to occur in women. I think that the stat I read was around 80%. I think that's a little high. But it's much, much higher in men. And that's because men have the prostate, which is located in the anus. It's about, I think, 2 to 3 inches within the anal wall. And this is where prostate play and prostate massages and prostate toys are brought into play, because when you massage or milk, it's called the prostate, you will ejaculate fairly quickly. And it is considered one of the most intense orgasms a man can have. But a lot of men won't experiment with it. Once again, why? Because society makes it mean that you're gay if you like anal play or you like to be penetrated. And so men walk around either fearing it, or if they do participate in it, never actually saying it out loud to their friends, because they don't want their friends to think that they're gay or that they like to be penetrated. And like, we make penetration a female focus thing, which is also a whole fucking load of shit. And women are the only ones to be penetrated. And so everyone walks around wanting to possibly participate in anal play and anal sex, but no one does it, and or there's so much fear wrapped around it when there doesn't need to be, because it can be done right. But what happens is, because no one's talking about it, because all we do is watch porn in order to get our answers, because sometimes we just don't do the research. We want to jump into something new sexually without actually looking up how to do it, or how to do it, how like the proper way of bringing it up is. And so there's so much miscommunication with anal, which ends up leading to a lot of miseducation on anal sex. So miseducation as in, like, you can jump right into anal sex during regular vaginal play. I mean, you can, but if you have not done the prep work, it's not safe. There is prep work that comes with anal sex. But in porn, we always see them, like I said, go from like vagina to ass in 3 seconds. But what they're not showcasing is the prep work that's done with anal sex beforehand. They're not talking about how that actress probably hasn't eaten in about 12 hours before participating in anal play. They're not talking about the fact that she had to douche, that if she was constipated, she had to take a laxative. They're not talking about any of that. Same applies to men. They're not talking about any of the prep work that goes through it. They're just showing you fucking vagina to ass or full penetration sex if it's man on man. They're not ever showcasing the steps that you need to take in order to make sure it's done safely. It also shows using spit as lubrication, which is not enough lubrication for anal sex. So what ends up happening is 2 people participate in anal sex. Both are miseducated. Both think that you can go from one to the other super quickly. They also think that there's no prep work. And then they use a lack of lubrication. So it hurts the entire fucking time. There are so many women that I talk to who say, oh, I tried anal once, I'll never do it again. Well, what happened? Oh, well, they spit, or we were like in mid-sex and they tried to like enter me from behind. Yeah, no. It's not, it shouldn't be done like that, especially if it's your first time ever. It's slow. It needs to be slow. And then the lack of communication that happens sometimes when you're with a partner who just wants to literally get it in, and they're going to keep shoving it in no matter how much it hurts. And a lot of people won't speak up when it hurts because they don't want to seem like a Debbie Downer, or they don't want to seem like they're inexperienced. And all of it does is cause so much more miscommunication, more miseducation, and everyone feeling like it's even more taboo because you can't talk about it anymore because it's embarrassing to talk about. And that's not fair to anybody, because anal play and anal sex should be something that is enjoyed by everybody. So when I refer to anal play, it's kind of like a umbrella term, but typically I refer to anal play when I'm talking about non-penetrative anal play. So anal play could be rimming, it could be using a toy or a vibrator to access the nerve endings around the anus. It is not penetration. Anal sex, anal penetration is when you are penetrated from your anus, from behind, I was going to say. You are penetrated either with a penis, either with a dildo, a butt plug, any type of sex toy, a finger. That is all anal penetration. And so what ends up happening is when people want to experiment with anal, they jump right into anal penetration, which is a big fucking no-no. And you'll hear me say it all of the time because you want to start with anal play first. Anal play is just basically, in a way, prepping the area around your anus to receive penetration eventually. It is getting your anus used to the feeling of vibrations or of something being around there, or of stimulation. There we go. Whatever that stimulation may be. And you want to practice with anal play first so that you can learn to relax during anal play, because the first thing that happens is during anal sex is your anus is a muscle, and when you're trying to push into it with penetration, it ultimately is going to seize up. It's going to stop whatever is penetrating it, because it is meant only for things to come out of it, not technically for things to go up it. So what it will do is it will stop it, because your muscles will contract, because you will get stiff and you will get scared. And then no matter how hard he pushes, it's not going to go in. Or she pushes, no matter how hard they push, it won't go in. So anal play gets you to relax your body and gets used to the sensation of something being there, so that when you move into penetrative sex or penetration with toys, it's less evasive, it's less scary. You can take deep breaths and allow your body to relax while it's happening. If you are moving into anal sex, you need to do all of the prep work. If you need information on the prep work, like I said, I did an entire article on this on SMEX Ed, and an article, a training all about anal sex and the prep work that goes into anal sex. So go do the training. It's $1.99. It'll be the best $2 you ever spent in your entire life. And you will walk out more educated about anal sex than you ever have before. And this is especially for those people who message me 100 times and say, how do I get my partner to participate in anal? You go watch that and educate yourself first before you even have the discussion with them. You educate yourself first so that when they have questions, you can answer those questions for them. If you do not do the prep work that goes with anal sex, accidents happen. And you know what type of accidents I'm talking about. One, if you do not clean the anal cavity, you already have stuff that is in there. So no matter what type of penetration that you have, it's going to get on there. Number two, if you have not gone to the bathroom or had a bowel movement, or taken a laxative or anything, if you've had something greasy to eat before, if you ate something that's a little upsetting to your stomach and you have anal sex, the second they pull out, shit will go everywhere. Pun completely intended. Even if you do all of the prep work, there's a slight chance that still might happen. It's the human body, you don't know. And so having things around to clean up those messes is huge. Communicating with your partner during anal penetration is literally the most important thing besides lubrication. Fuck ton of lube. And don't tell me like spit is not a lube, guys. Go out and buy a high quality lubricant. There's a water-based one from Too Timid. You can get it on my links for Instagram and Facebook. It's my favorite one. It's not sticky. It's great. It comes in a tingling sensation and just a regular water-based one. Go get a really good lubricant because you're going to need a lot of lubrication because you want minimal friction when you are pushing in. As they are pushing in, if you are the receiver, you want to take deep breaths and you almost want to push out as they are pushing in. Because once again, the anus is a muscle. If you start pushing in, it's going to contract. If you can relax, breathe through, and then push against the penis, right? Or against the toy, then it is going to wrap around and like allow the toy and or whatever penetration device you're using to enter you. If you are using toys, always use a toy that has a ending, like a base, right? This is butt plugs. Every single butt plug you will ever see always has a base. Why? Because it will keep it from being sucked in. Because yes, your anus can suck in things. Y'all have seen Jackass. You have seen how many times those men have shoved shit up their ass to go to the ER in order to get x-rays to see the thing in their ass. Like it definitely is possible. So you want a toy that has a solid base so it won't happen that way. Obviously, communication is key. Saying to your partner, slow down a little bit at a time. You've gone too far, pull out, be slow is going to be key. You have to talk to your person. This is not a, what's the word? This is not a sexual position that you can be quiet during. You don't want to be. Because if you're being quiet, something's wrong, right? You want to be able to enjoy it. So you need to be able to communicate with your partner always during it. And honestly, guys, we wouldn't be given these body parts if we weren't meant to explore the pleasure that comes with having these body parts. And it's okay to be able to experiment with anal play and make it mean nothing more about you than you want to explore it and you want to see how it feels, because it does feel different. And it provides a different sensation, and it can provide blended orgasms for women if you are being penetrated from behind and using a toy up front, or vice versa. Like it can provide you with some of the most powerful orgasms you'll ever have because they're blended orgasms. It is a source of pleasure for men. Your prostate, like during oral or just anytime, even during sex, being able to have your prostate massaged or rubbed or milked, or having a plug in there is going to help you have the most intense orgasm you've ever had in your entire life. And it means nothing about your sexuality. It means nothing at all except for you want to experiment with that pleasure. And also, when I say like people won't talk about it, they don't. And this is not me trying to pressure you to have open and honest conversations about anal sex, because in my opinion, everyone's sex life is their fucking sex life, meaning who you want to talk about it with is completely up to you. And if you want to keep it private as fuck, that's within your right. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I even addressed it today on, I think it was Instagram, is when people message me asking me about my sexual preferences, whether I like men or women, or whether I'm married or whether I'm single, or what like kink I'm into, or if like I want to explore with this toy or that. It's no one's business but your own. You can share this information with whoever the fuck you want, and you can share it with no one at the same time. Whatever you are comfortable with. Yes, we want more conversations on anal sex so people feel less alone. But if you're not comfortable talking about it, don't force yourself to do it for the good of other people. And I mean that, and like there are people like me who I'll get up here and talk about it, right? I just don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable in their own self-exploration of pleasure, because you're allowed to feel this amount of pleasure. You should feel this pleasure, and you should do it safely, and you should be educated while doing it so that you and your partner are both receiving the maximum amount of pleasure that goes with it, and you both are safe and secure in doing so. That is what is so vital and so important about anal sex, is communication, safety, security, and education. So I hope this helped some of you, whoever may need to hear it, feel a little bit better about anal sex. And as always, go back and listen to the other episode I did a few months ago on anal sex. Check out the training at smexed.com on anal sex. Feel free to message me with any other questions that you have, but doesn't need to be taboo. And then a fun, interesting fact I actually just found out when I was researching stuff on anal sex the other day, that anal sex in women, so with men, it's the prostate. With women, when you have anal sex, it actually hits against your A spot, which is your anterior fornix spot which is located in your vaginal canal. It's about probably, what is it? Your G spot is when you come up into your vaginal canal, it's about 2 inches upwards. It's going to feel like a walnut, almost like a spongy kind of walnut. If you go about 1 inch or 2 higher with your fingers, that is your A spot. And your A spot usually gets stimulated by kind of doing like a windshield wiper motion with your fingers and or a toy. But when you have anal sex, when you're penetrated from behind, it actually hits against the A spot, like on the opposite side in your body, which is what helps cause that style orgasm. So I found that really interesting, and maybe that will you'll find that interesting as well. But all in all, it just means explore safely, enjoy pleasure. And if you have any questions, message me. If you know someone who might need to hear this today, go ahead and send them this podcast. And as always, I love you all, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Fierce as Fuck podcast. And some parting words for you today. Remember this: no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my